Hello and welcome to Sports Room. I'm Anirudh Madhavan, and with me is veteran sports journalist Ayaz Memon. On this episode, we'll be talking about the semifinals, the two, and we'll start with the India one, of course. So, Ayaz, here we are again, India New Zealand semifinal, 2019 World Test Championship. And for all that we talk about from the outside of history and heartbreak, do you think the players really are bothered about this?
I mean, ideally they shouldn't be, but somewhere it may be playing on their minds. Remember, it's not just 2019 and 2015 that we lost in the semis. If you go way back to 1987, when the Reliance Cup was played in India and Pakistan, we lost in the semi-finals at the same venue, at the 1K day. So, but having said that, different teams, different occasion, different environment, different atmosphere, different players. And the run that India has had, 9 victories on the trot, and each victory smarter, better, more emphatic than the other should make every Indian supporter really hopeful that this time we'll go the distance.
Yeah. So as you said, it's at the Wankhede. And what do you think? So win the toss and bat first because we've seen the ball doing a lot under the lights in the during the second inning. So that's a simple decision, it seems, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, simple, but not so simple. One is, of course, the luck of the coin should go your way. So that's one. The other is actually India have been fantastic chasing scores in this tournament. So is that playing at the back of Rohit's mind? I don't know. I think whatever the issue, India have done well batting first also. As we saw in the previous game against Netherlands, so made 400 plus runs. I think at this stage of the tournament, you can't be completely kind of chewed up by wondering whether you should bat first or bat second. I think whatever comes your way, you have to make the most of it. And the good thing for India is that every department has been in roaring form, whether it's the batting or the bowling. So even if you win the toss, it's a bit of a it's a bit of a challenge for the decision to be made because all your batsmen are firing on all cylinders. Your bowlers are doing fabulously well. So Rohit Sharma has a bit of a task on hand if he calls correctly.
Yeah, yeah. And you talk about the Netherlands game. We saw a lot of Indian batters taking the ball with Kohli and Rohit getting wickets and Shubman Gill and Sky also bowled. Do you think it's just mind games or are they expected to do something if one of the bowlers does damage himself?
I think that's is a contingency for an emergency. I mean, one of the bowlers, the five regulars, gets taken for a lot of runs, or is not looking up to peak form, or a partnership is building up, and suddenly you want, or certainly you want somebody to come and break the partnership with. You know, Sometimes it happens that if your regular bowlers are not there, then the batsmen take a chance against the non-regular bowlers, and they might give away their wickets. I mean, these are all things that happen in the sport. But I see that India have, in a sense, settled on the formula that they've got five terrific bowlers and they'll stick with those five bowlers. And all over here and there. See, it also comes loaded with a little risk, whether it's Virat bowling or Rohit or Surya Kumar Yadav, that even a one over gone for plenty can count in the ultimate analysis. So you don't want to just influence or implement a change for the heck of it, unless it's absolutely necessary.
And do you think that India will sort of clinch up and go into a shell and start playing defensively, almost looking not to lose, rather to win? Because we've seen that in the past sometimes. But given this team's form, you wouldn't be expecting that, would you?
I wouldn't see that at all. In fact, I think that would be, that would actually be a problem for India. And we saw that happen, say, with a team like Pakistan, who looked lackluster throughout the tournament, despite winning their first two matches, because it seemed that they were just too afraid to lose, and therefore it just insipid approach from the captaincy, from tactics, from the batting certainly, and the bowling. Not getting wickets in the opening spell, can't bowl in the middle overs because you just don't want to concede runs. So I mean, I think there's a lesson to be drawn somewhere from there, and you can't. There's no need to change your approach, which has paid such rich dividends. I think that India have galloped into this situation, into the semi-finals, playing a kind of or a brand of cricket which other teams have found difficult to contain or curtail, and that's what has made India so psychologically imposing for any opponent. And if you start changing tactics now, it doesn't mean you have to be reckless and say, "Ha ha, we did it in the earlier matches. We'll start doing it." I mean, ultimately, these are all very seasoned players, so you approach the game with the objective of winning and play sensible cricket. like it happened in the first match against Australia. We were 2 for 3, 2 runs for 3 wickets down, and Virat Kohli and KL Rahul didn't go bang bang, bang bang. They had a target to reach, 200 to win. They went about it very sensibly, and we've seen that. So the formula seems to me that, and is evident to everybody, that Rohit and Shubman give you that flying start, and then there are the consolidators like Virat Kohli, Shreyas Iyer, and Rahul. And Rahul and Shreyas Iyer can also be very strong finishers along with Jadeja. So there's so much versatility in the batting that you don't need to rethink or redefine your formula at all. And likewise in the bowling, I think that there is in a sense, a settled formula: who will open the bowling, who will come in first change, when the middle overs start, who will bowl. And then Rohit's captaincy, I think, has been fabulous. When to make the bowling changes, who to bring on for which batsman. There's a lot of thought and study which has gone into it, and I think that's where India is, reaping the rewards for their campaign in their campaign.
Yeah, and I also want to say that in case India lose, and I'm not trying to jinx anything, but in case India lose, it almost seems unfair that a team that has beaten all the teams comprehensively goes out of the tournament for one bad day. So what I'm asking is, do you see in the future something like the IPL playoffs style of closing out the tournament happening with the ODI World Cup or any World Cup?
Anirudh, I've been speaking to some players, former and even current, whenever I've had the opportunity, and all of them, unanimously, virtually, are in favor of the IPL model because it's a long campaign. The World Cup, you've had 9 matches, you've reached the semi-final, and hey, you have one bad day, or injury to a key player, or something like that. One brilliant run out can change the course of a match. It can happen in any match. It's not an excuse, but the players seem to believe that makes more cricket sense, and it's fairer if you have what is practiced in the IPL model, that 1 and 2 play each other. Therefore, the top 2 teams have one more chance of making the final and winning the tournament in case if they lose their first match, just as reward for their consistency over the league phase. So, but unfortunately, that doesn't apply now. It didn't apply in the earlier tournaments. It's not going to apply now. So, India have to put, or all the 4 teams have to keep this thought out of their minds when they take the field.
Yeah. So we've spoken a lot about India. We also should talk about New Zealand and them. They had a wonderful start to the tournament, and they've, as they've done in the past, they've won against the teams they should win against, which are the lower placed teams, and they've lost to the higher placed teams. And it's a very sensible, very put together approach to the tournament. I mean, they're not setting out to lose to the other teams, but they somehow find themselves doing what is meant to be done to get into the semis. So, how has been their journey, and what do you expect from them now?
I mean, they've had a bit. They got stalled at 8 points for a fair number of matches. They had runaway victories in their first 4 matches, and then they got stalled. And I can say that it was a bit of a. I mean, they came on. They were huffing and puffing a bit to qualify because it could have. At one point in time, there was a cluster of teams which could have made the fourth spot, so to speak. But what's worked to their advantage is that they rediscovered their zest in time, and perhaps even more significantly, they've got Kane Williamson back in the mix because he had enough time to rest, and he's had a couple of good knocks, and just him being there gives that team that little solidity at the top, which everybody, they've got a lot of great, fantastic stroke players who can play around Williamson as the fulcrum, and I mean, in a way, both are similar. India and New Zealand, they bat deep. New Zealand also blessed with all rounders: Daryl Mitchell, Rachin Ravindran, Mitch Santner, and some of even Tim Southee can bat a bit. So I think they've got, maybe not the as we see it now, the quality of players that India has is just that. Remember, a lot of these New Zealand players, almost all of them, barring maybe one or two, are also regulars on the IPL circuit. So they know the conditions, they know the opponents. It's not a, and then there is also the fact that India lost to them in 2019 in the semis. So is that playing on India's mind? We'll have to wait and see. But both teams seem to be, in a sense, evenly matched on paper. Of course, when they played each other in the league phase, India, New Zealand fizzled out. I thought they would make 300 plus and put greater pressure on India. It didn't happen because the Indians really bowled superbly in that match. So it's been a bit of going back and forth where both teams are concerned. If you look at 2019, New Zealand stumbled India against the run of play throughout the tournament. And here, India got the better of New Zealand when the two met in the league match. So yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch how the tactics play out and the performances thereafter.
Yeah, and talking about the semi-final, we should also talk about the other semi-final, which is Australia and South Africa. That history, there's a whole textbook for these two
Yeah,
teams
yeah.
when it comes to history. So 99, so Klusner, Donald, everything, and South Africa being chokers, and Australia somehow, even if they don't play well throughout the year, it comes when the World Cup comes, they're back again in form and they into the semis. And so, what do you expect from that match? And who goes in with a mental advantage? Again, Australia, because they won 7 out of 7 now.
I think so. I think Australia have the edge. I mean, if you had asked me this about 8, 10 days back, I would have said South Africa because, they were in magnificent form. Their batting was explosive. The bowling was looking really good. The fielding has always been good where the South Africans are concerned. And Australia were a bit in the doldrums. But they've come back as the Aussies do. You can't take them lightly ever. 5 times former champions. They've just hit their A game now. When you look at the last few matches, and especially the one against Afghanistan is really kind of fine tuned, if I might use that phrase, for them to prime them for the bigger challenges that came or that are coming subsequently. That match, memorable for Glenn Maxwell, but also kind of was a rally cry for all the players to come together. This is 7 matches on the run. They've got their batting order now very well settled. They've got Mitch Marsh in form. I think they'll replace Stoinis is the guy who will miss out Steve Smith coming in. So their batting is really deep. The bowling, a little expensive. The pace bowlers, Mitchell Stark and maybe even Pat Cummins. Pat Cummins a little below his best, but the spinners, Adam Zampa, highest wicket taker in this tournament. Josh Hazelwood has been an epitome of economy and keeping the pressure tight on the batsman and so on. So this is, to me, I think South Africa have been a little mercurial when they batted first, they've been brilliant. Whenever they've chased, they've looked very mediocre. But what South Africa have got is some really good spinners, and they've got in Marco Jansen, a match-winning all-rounder, fast bowling all-rounder. Kagiso Rabada, a fine bowler. So I think it's going to be a tough contest. But it'll be a really tough contest if South Africa are in their best form. Otherwise, it could fizzle out, as we saw South Africa fizzle out against India. And for all 4 teams, just to kind of reiterate, the tournament actually
Yeah,
begins now. Whatever's happened in the past, whatever's happened in the league
yeah,
stage, India has won 9 on the trot. South Africa have stumbled every now and then. New Zealand did, Australia did. But all that does not matter now. For all 4 teams, the tournament begins tomorrow.
yeah. As you said, it's a clean slate. They begin tomorrow, and that's it for this episode of Sports Room. See you next time.
Thank you.